Yeah.
But that was what I was saying earlier. What I'm seeing is that they're compensating by giving money and still
Honey, yeah.
pursuing their own careers. We're
Yeah,
seeing a
right.
lot of family men pursuing their career goals, and they don't abandon the kids in a sense as the kids, but the kid can afford the felony sneakers. He can afford he
Yeah.
can afford
$60
to.
$60 sneakers, nice
So,
nice sweatsuits and things like this. In fact, right now they're instituting in New York here a program. They're taking one school trying it out, but I've been talking about this for years. They just getting up to the idea since Chancellor Green has come into to the office here. Is that kids should be in uniforms when they go to school. I'll tell you why. Because I've seen more kids fight over calling somebody's sneakers or leather jacket MOs, which just means imitation.
imitate.
You know, yeah. And kids felt bad when somebody would call their leather jacket,
Right.
which might have been vinyl, an MO jacket. You know.
Yeah.
Now it would be much more sensible to have those kids in one pair of blue pants and a white shirt. And when they have like a certain kind of graduation and things like that in schools, and you see the kids dressed up, they act totally different. They don't go down the aisle hitting on one another, they dress to the occasion.
Well,
And I think you can dress kids to the occasion every day. Let them have school clothes on and they'll be ready for school work. When you have play clothes on, let them play. But don't bring play clothes to school and
yeah.
expect them to do schoolwork, because they're so engrossed in themselves, looking at themselves. They just can't get over what they look like and how great they are that they let that head go.
That's true. Tell us a little bit about the other book, 10 Little Niggers.
Yeah, Ten Little Niggers. That was a book that I wrote concerning in 1896 in the original Mother Goose nursery rhyme. They wrote a book called a nursery rhyme called 10 Little Niggers, and they said 10 little nigger boys went out to dine. One choked on himself, and then there were 9. 9 little nigger boys sat up late. One overslept, and then there were 8. 8 little nigger boys traveling in Devon. One said he would stay there, and then there were 7. And 7 little nigger boys chopped up sticks. One chopped himself in half, and then there were 6. 6 little nigger boys playing with a hive. A bumblebee stung one, and then there were 5. And 5 little nigger boys going in for law. One got into chancery, and then there was 4. And 4 little nigger boys going out to sea. A red herring swallowed one, and then there were 3. 3 little nigger boys walking in the zoo. A big bear hugged one, and then there were 2. And 2 little nigger boys sitting in the sun. One got frizzled up, and then there were 1. And 1 little nigger boy living all alone, he got married, and then there were none. And when I read that, and that nursery rhyme was used in Germany to teach German kids the numbers, believe it or not. And if you go to Holland today, that book is still produced in our Dutch language with Technicolor black children in it, called 10 Little Niggers in Dutch language today. So
That would explain why a recent issue of Jet had the thing in Japan.
Sure.
If you saw
Oh yes, of all
the Sambo mannequins.
Of course, of course. And what I did, I rewrote the 10 Little Niggers. I put part 2 for survival in the same book. I had my artist to draw the pictures of Jim Brown, and I said 1 little black boy was loved and he grew. He shared with another, and then there were 2. And 2 little black boys learned to agree. They asked the help of another, and then there were 3. And 3 black teenage boys wanted to do even more. They lifted one who had fallen, and then there was 4. And 4 little black boys learned how to survive. They joined hands with another, and then there were 5. And 5 young black men built with mortar and bricks. They encouraged another builder, and then there was 6. 6 black brothers knew hell from heaven. They turned their brother around, and then there was 7. And 7 black students learned never to be late. A serious brother followed them, and then there were 8. And 8 black men became strong with time. They linked arms with another, and then there were 9. And 9 little black boys became strong men. They looked for a leader, and then there were 10. And 10 little black boys are only a few. To become strong men will be up to you. And that's when I do that poem in school. Those kids jump up from that seat because I have them to do the last number. I have them to do the 1, 2, 3, 4. And when they get to 10, they actually get up, small kids, and clap because they know where they're coming from. See, we are so busy hiding our past that we don't want to be like the Jewish person to tell the young child that you remember that Holocaust. We don't want to say to remember that passage where all those millions of your forefathers died at, or on slavery and so forth. We're so busy covering up. We want to tell about the good things about people, but let them know that that we went through some hell being called nigger in this country and still called nigger. It's no difference. All you have to do is go to Howard Beach or go to some of the places that are around. Even right on Staten Island today, some other young child was chased by somebody into the path of a car and killed. Because of an exchange of words. We are a people that are a proud people, a great people. heritage, it's unbelievable. For example,
Mr. hold up your new book
yeah,
and talk about that, because
yeah,
that's right in line with where we are. It's called.
yeah.
Can you zoom into that?
Yeah. If you can't remember, please don't forget. This is my grandfather on the front here in Charleston, South Carolina in the 1800s. Now, he doesn't look like he was born in slavery or his parents were a slave. He got his gold chain on, got his derby, and got that boy dressed looking like he's something. And these aren't clothes painted on these people. They weren't sitting there and naked and they painted these clothes. This was it. So when I go to my patients' homes, for example, and I wanted to show what black people are real, what I like to do is just from the first paragraph, it says, from the moment black people, no, I'm sorry, that I wrote from notes from the author. Tears flowed from the rainbow-colored eyes when Reverend Jesse Jackson inspired the delegates with his soul-searching speech at the Democratic National Convention. It was given at a time when black people in this city and throughout the world are seeking answers for survival. The salty tears of emotion will never be able to remove the stains of racism which have divided and is slowly conquering us. We must wash our own selves and in the process replace to our fabric the dignity and spiritualism that has been leached out. Then and only then will our greatness be restored. Now when I've gone into folks' houses and looked on their walls and saw the pictures that I saw on their walls, this is what black people looked like in the early 1900s, in the late 1800s. And I wrote poetry to each of these pictures because it's a powerful. I ran it from babies to children, right on up to young girls, and and I tried to give young little boys. I mean, look at that little young boy there holding on to that wheel with that suit on. He's something else, And then young black women, what black women really looked like. They were full of respect and had a lot of respect given to them, and all shades and all hues.
I was looking at that one. There was no need for makeup.
Oh yes,
black women were making up their minds. Black women were making up their souls, and black women were making up the world.
Yeah,
that's been a big problem, and with the advent of the magazines that have been around forever, but black women are slowly not looking black anymore.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
If that's a way to say it,
yes.
they're made and I mean the makeup is just like. They look made up.
Yeah, they look made up. That's right. That's right. And they act made up.
Yeah.
It follows through. Like this is my mom here, and this is my father in the 24th Infantry on the Mexican border, when the black soldier was really a black soldier. And it went all through the men, and then it would go through, and then I hit young couples, and as you might read this.
Oh, black men and women fell in love and joined hands in strength. The black woman stood by his side, and the black man became strong.
Yeah, and that's what it was all about. The black man became strong, and it goes right on into families. In fact, this young baby here was 80-some years old. Died the other day. I went to his funeral, but he loaned me this picture before he died. Now look what they looked like back there. I mean, that was power. That was majestic,
In a chair.
Yeah, and then I got this lovely group of black men here, and if you look at those black men are saying something. I mean, they're so powerful looking. Every face, they're not joking around there. And the poem I wrote to that, they were men of African ancestry, whose grandfathers were warriors and counselors. Together, they were capable of shaking the foundations of the earth. And that's how those men did. They did believe in shaking the foundations of the earth, and they did. They established businesses in those days. Just think of them black men that came along in those days, how they established their businesses. And they were great carpenters, great bricklayers. They built, they did all the things. We can't even get kids to want to go to bricklaying school today. We can't get kids to want to go to the carpentry union and really work. We can't get kids to want to go to the electrical union and really get in there and put 5 years in as an apprentice and so forth. Too long. Got to do it in a year, and then mess up everybody's electric in their house, But it takes time. It takes time.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to do it. When I look at some of the stuff on my wall here, I don't have that stuff on my wall to brag to anybody. I have that only to prove to black people I've been through the same thing that white doctors have been through, because they don't believe it sometimes. They said you can't possibly have gone through what a white doctor has gone through, and a lot of times they have to be told, because they really think that you've gotten it through just going to sleep at night, and osmosis it went into your brain.
What do you think has happened to the blacks? And I'm always joking that we were African, we were colored, we've been Negro, we've become Afro-Americans. Judge Bruce Wright, we talked with him recently. He calls us Afro-Saxons now. What do you think, in your opinion, has just happened to just kind of break down our fabric. We don't seem to. It seemed like 60s you saw something happening, and 70s and 80s now everybody's kind of confused. What do you think has happened to the blacks and their family?
I think it's been a stressful situation on the black person that's culminating now today. And I'll give you an example. I was at a conference not too long ago, and it was a medical conference, and they said, we want to get black medical students in. We want to give them a chance. And when I went to Downstate Medical College, there were only 2 blacks in my class, but there was 100 that I knew wanted to come into the school who were qualified, but couldn't get in. They had to go to Switzerland, Germany, and all the different places, France, to learn medicine. Blacks, I'm talking about. So after a while, you've been stressed. I'll give this example about being stressed. Hans Selye, who got the Nobel Prize for stress, for the whole concept of stress, what stress does to the body. He said if you take a rat and put him in a barrel of water, he'll swim all day. But if you take that same rat and put him in your hands and stress him, make him give up that he'll ever get out of your hand, and you put him in that barrel of water, he sinks to the bottom immediately because he gave up. What we have done, in many cases, we have given up. And that giving up has come from stress. I'll give you another good example of that. If you take a frog, when I was in biology in Brooklyn College, if you take a frog and put him in, they wanted to show that a frog can only tell extreme temperatures. If you take a frog and put him in hot water, he'll jump out. But if you take a frog and put him in cold water and you heat it gently, he cooks to death because he don't know when to jump.
Okay.
They cooked us, and they are cooking us with racism, poor schooling, poor housing, poor hope, more dope. All those kind of things are stressing us, and it's cracking us up. We can't hold the fort anymore. I mean, those who were holding the fort are getting too old to hold it, and they don't have any reserve to come up. For example, if they trained those other 100 doctors along with me, I would have some reserve. I don't have no reserve.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
You see what I mean? Now they're saying, come on into the race. You can make it, brother, with one leg. See, I can't run a race with one leg. And those kids have one legs now because they haven't gotten the way to study science. Science is hard to study. You got to burn the candle at both ends and stuff. They ain't willing to put that time in to study science and become a doctor or this thing and that thing. We don't have enough. Some do, but I'm talking about them. Just imagine if I, who had 10 friends who should have gone to medical school, multiply me by 1,000 throughout the country who got into medical school, who had 10 friends who wanted to get into medical school and never got in. We don't have any reserve anymore. We don't have doctor after doctor in this area. We have 4 or 5 doctors. You go in some of the white areas, they got doctor every block.
That's right.
I mean, or every other house, rows of doctors, and things like this. So how are we supposed to get back into the battle now? I mean, after everybody has been on our case so long, and it has whipped us down. And the only thing I would say is that